Do you miss me at all? Do you think about the things we used to do? No, you couldn't stand tall. So why didn't you call? So many years has gone by, but I think about you all the time. Looks like you're changing and all, but why didn't you call? Something in the air, always something in the air. Inexplicable, I can feel it in the air. Can you feel me? Can you feel me? Can you feel me? Do you miss me at all? Do you think about the things we used to do? No, you couldn't stand tall. So why didn't you call? So many years has gone by, but I think about you all the time. Looks like you're changing and all, but why didn't you call? Something in the air, always something in the air. Inexplicable, I can feel it in the air. Can you feel me? Can me at all? Do you think about the things we used to do? No, you couldn't stand tall. So why didn't you call? So many years has gone by, but I think about you all the time. Looks like you're changing and all, but why didn't you call? Something in the air, always something in the air. Inexplicable, I can feel it in the air. Can you feel me? Can you feel me? Can you feel me? Do you miss me at all? Do you think about the things we used to do? No, you couldn't stand tall. So why didn't you call? So many years has gone by, but I think about you all the time. Looks like you're changing and all, but why didn't you call? Something in the air, always something in the air. Inexplicable, I can feel it in the air. Can you feel me? Can you feel me? Can you feel me? Can you feel me? Something in the air, always something in the air. Inexplicable, I can feel it in the air. Can you feel me?
We can shine in a crowd, we never hesitate. Let us rise to the clouds. We got nothing to lose, I know the time is right. Let us light up the fuse. And I know, and I know, and I know, and I know we're perfect, you and I. And I don't, and I don't, and I don't, and I don't giving up without a fight. What I feel, I know it's right. Let us detonate tonight. Let us detonate tonight. Let us detonate tonight. We can shine in a crowd, we never hesitate. Let us rise to the clouds. We got nothing to lose, I know the time is right. Let us light up the fuse. And I know, and I know, and I know, and I know we're perfect, you and I. And I don't, and I don't, and I don't, and I don't giving up without a fight. What I feel, I know it's right. Let us detonate tonight. Let us detonate tonight. No, it's right. Let us detonate tonight.
Somebody told me that love wasn't real. What kind of a feeling am I starting to feel when I want you so? Why are you so cold? When I'm around you, I want to let go. Lost in your eyes when we're moving too close, and the love we found got me upside down. Close to a second, we can lose it all. When lights are in motion, we're ready to fall. When I want you so, why are you so cold? 'Cause when I'm around you, I want to let go. Lost in your eyes when we're moving too close, and the love we found got me upside down.
Welcome once again to the Smite Global Series. I'm Fench. I have Anatoly here with me, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Southeast Asia region.
I'm really excited to see these two teams kick it off here. We're seeing so many different metas between different regions here in the Southeast Asia. They definitely like to fight.
Oh, that is right. This is a region where they just love to brawl, totally. So you could be rest assured there's going to be plenty of action to look at. But let's go over the format one more time. Just break it down for you how these teams are going to be fighting. Of course, it is going to be that monthly kickoff. Then the last chance qualifiers is week 3. Then everyone's trying to make it to that last week where that's the finals.
And that's going to lead to your prizing. First place at week number 4 is going to be that $4,000 marker for their team. Second place, $2,000. Third and fourth gets split $1,000 on each side of those things. And last week, actually, was week number 4, was Mashu Boys taking it 2-0 here against Get On My Level at the end of phase 1.
Yeah, that's right. The two teams that we saw in the finals, we're not going to be seeing them here in the finals this week, which is always great. It looked like the other two teams didn't even play this time, so we're going to get a chance to see some talent make it to the finals this time that we didn't get to see last time. It is going to be, though, Time to Feed up against Adopted Squad here, totally. Taking a look at the bracket, looks like neither one of those two teams really had much struggle getting here.
Definitely not here, as Time to Feed taking out Wadia, as Boys with Tiaras falling to the Adopted Squad. So
How? They had tiaras!
I know. That's
I can't believe
that's
it!
That's an unfair advantage, though, to be fair. Like,
wow.
I guess the Adopted Squad just too strong.
Sorry, totally. Give me a moment to recover. They had the tiaras and still... Okay, it's fine.
They must have had crowns.
That must have been it. Maybe some of them didn't actually have... Like, 3 of them had tiaras, and the other 2 didn't bring them, and that's why they couldn't...
One was broken.
That's what it is. Either way, though, I'm excited to see Game 1 here with those picks and bans for Game 1. We've already seen things be prioritized a little bit differently here throughout the different regions as opposed to maybe the SPL or SML and what's the meta that's sort of developing there. So I always love when they sort of develop their own meta, take some from that SPL level, but make sure they play to their own strengths.
Giannis and Nua has started to see a little bit of the limelight in terms of picks and bans already. Adopted Squad taking that off the table here is because there's so many important junglers that people realize, oh, yeah, these specific mid gods that have the range, that have the mobility, more difficult to really handle, but a surprising Agni ban from Time to Feed.
Yeah, they're going to take the Agni away. That forces Adopted Squad to ban the Thoth and the Giannis pick, which is going to leave up the likes of Ardio, Serket, Kukulin, rather. There's a lot of strong picks still available. Adopted Squadron, though, they're prioritizing this Izanami pick. I'm not saying Izanami can't be strong in the Hunter lane, but why take it so early?
I think it's just their comfort pick, and maybe there's a lot of scrims that they do behind the scenes where they've been practicing against each other, or maybe this specific player is just known for being an Izanami player, doesn't want to have that stripped away. Provides a lot of control, not control, but a lot of just clear in that duo lane, not having to really use mana because your boomerang basic attacks will come back to you.
I remember, back toward the beginning of the split, really felt like Izanami was kind of the pick because those Cleave autos were going through all the mini waves so fast. She could pressure the jungle so easily, but this does leave up 3, really high priority picks. The Ardio, the Serket, the Geb, all going to be taken here by Time to Feed.
Arachne is going to be the selection for Adopted Squad. There were a couple other picks, Susanoo, Ratatasker, Camazotz, but Arachne receiving the buff between having an additional web count going from 2 to 3 allows her to actually solo a camp. So whether you want to do back Harpy camp, blue buff, red buff, that's going to get you to the level 2 marker once you solo your own speed as well.
Totally Adopted Squad, they are worried about this mid lane right now. Take a look at this. Scylla and Habwa banned away. And I don't blame him. Habwa certainly can run the table by itself, but a lot of attention being paid to the mid.
It's a lot of late game damage taken off the table and easily confirmable too. No one wants to get hit by that crushing wave from Habwa or the Alma Monster. Sobek, the selection for Adopted Squad, still need their mid mage. Could be Izanami mid, though. We've seen some hunters kind of flex in that role.
Yeah, and Izanami with that big ultimate certainly can fill the void that you'd be missing by not having a mage there. But Ho Yi is going to be the selection this time for Time to Feed, along with that Vulcan. So with 4 mages taking off the board, kind of going a little bit deeper into those god picks.
Definitely does a lot of damage late game. Easy to confirm with short cooldown, so once you're comfortable with that. But talking about easy to confirm damage, the Apwash, this is an interesting pick. It's not a very common one.
Not at all. This Apwash pick. Totally. First off, I'm going to say I'm very excited. I like Apwash. We don't get to see him a whole lot at high levels of play. So this is awesome that we're getting this Apwash picked here as we do get ready here in just a moment to go into game number 1 here between these two squads. But he can be a little bit punished.
Yes.
Can this Opwash? Not much mobility.
Well, the problem without having mobility, or the benefit, is the rest of his kit. He drops those corpses at his feet, he picks them up to regain some health and mana, and it also reduces the cooldowns of his other abilities, so he's basically a walking bait stick. As long as he builds a little bit of tankiness, Warlock Staff, maybe one physical defense item, he should be fine against General.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him building a lot of cooldown too. We see that a lot with Opwashes, so that they can sort of rely off those corpses and get a lot of sustain back as well. So he's got a lot to try and make sure that he does very well in order to get this Opwash pick to work out up against Time to Feed. But you're right, up against General on this Serket pick, it will not be easy.
In the duo lane, who are seeing the rotations here. It's a 1v2, feeling very confident against the Get, but once he sees the Hu Yi, Jake Pocket gonna get hit by the second and the third bounce from the Ricochet, absorbing 40% of his total life.
That's a big advantage here for the duo lane of Time to Feed, and earned because Vintage hadn't made it up to the lane yet, was still in base, kind of buying some items. Now he's on his way up, making that trek. He'll be able to help create a little bit of space for Jake Pocket so he doesn't have to worry about Time to Feed moving up and gaining too much of an early advantage. But actually, Jake Pocket's trying to force them back. It looks like they're going to instead rely on this Hu Yi Ricochet to try and clear camps a little bit earlier here, Totally.
Possible, unless he's just kind of waiting to see where the rotation's happening. Cerberus has been spotted out here. Keep in mind, this purple buff is not spawning until the 34-second mark.
Yeah.
And they're already clearing the wave. Hu Yi is stuck here without a jump.
This could potentially be problems, and now they recognize that they're here and instead are going to turn for the retreat. Look at those Izanami in hands already. Chipping away at Acromodio. I like this bounce that he goes for on the Ricochet. Still not going to be in time, though. Vintage able to grab that purple buff. Is very low. Jake Pocket wants to stay and continue boxing this one out. Totally, they can potentially pay for it. Sprint comes out. Jake Pocket and Vintage split up to try and make it harder for them to chase.
So much experience missed by Time to Feed's dual lane because they ignored the whole wave that was under the tower. Getting slowed out. Here comes Custard.
That was so scary with the Ricochet. It didn't quite hit, though. But it is going to be Custard that finds first blood, and now it's a problem here for Dark Artist. He could potentially end up falling. The blink, though, gets him back to safety.
Just out of combat for about 2 seconds is all you need to disengage. General going to get poked out in the mid lane. 1v2 favoring out Ares thus far, playing the Opwash. Now, that was very questionable decision-making coming from Time to Feed's dual lane. I get the idea behind wanting to do a buff since you can't really contest a lane, but if that's going to be the case, do the red buff. Do the one that's further away from you.
Custard went for it there in the mid lane, but the tier 2 tower couldn't quite find it, but it's going to work out. All they really needed to do was force them back enough they could come pull this red buff and steal it away. They already got the purple. Remember, we can see that one around Vintage right now. And now they got the red buff. And look at this. Jake Pocket able to easily keep this Wade pushed up by himself in duo. Things are going really strong for Adopted Squad here just based off their start.
He's going to be at 28 Hunter Mark stacks, Hunter's Blessing stacks after this wave, and he's going to be able to be controlling it even harder here. Only 9 for the Hu Yi. That's sitting still at level 1. He should be able to hit level 2 off that wave, but this is a huge gap in the experience department because of all these buff invades without their own purple, without their own red. If Adopted Squad continue this kind of pressure, it's not going to be looking pretty for Acromodio.
And it ends up working out really well for them because we saw Custard make the rotation as Dark Artist once again is getting trapped inside the damage from Vintage, is able to hit that second ability. Now the leap comes out as well. All he needs is the implant from Jake Pocket, who finds it, gets the second kill of the game, the first one for their Hunter. Jumping in aggressively as Acromodio looks at the Ricochet, almost finds that hit.
So close to hitting the Ricochet. Perfect stun from Vintage. There's the slow coming out in the duo lane. Solo lane, a little bit of action here. Guardian versus Guardian. King of Heroes going to heal up with a Sickening Strike, and something that Artio is really well known for is just her ability to sustain with all her Druid stances.
Blink in, Death Bane, but the tail whip is enough to create space and pluck away. King of Heroes able to make it out of there.
Did not get out the crippling minefield in time to stop that pluck, unfortunately, for the side of Time to Feed, but still a good look for King of Heroes as he does still stay relevant in the laning phase, but keep in mind, the solo laners don't have teleport. If you bully out one quick enough, they're gonna miss some golden experience under that tower.
And Acromodio is not afraid to go for these Ricochet bounces. Stun comes out. Dark Artist already down to half health. Actually gets stuck in place too and ends up having to try and shield himself just so he can get away. Vintage was right there trying to finish it off. Dark Artist continuing to struggle over here in the duo lane, Totally.
It's looking doom and gloom for Time to Feed's duo lane, living true to their name. Honestly, I would say it's just time for them to feed the Adopted Squad's duo lane, but getting their own red buff. The strategy from Adopted Squad I thought was going to be to continuing the pressure on the left side jungle camps. Didn't really want to overextend towards the red buff. We're fearful of general, but they didn't really have to worry about a level 5 Circuit. That's the time to make those plays when you don't have to worry about that last breath.
Yeah, that would have been the time to try and go for it for this Adopted Squad. Totally. I did want to talk about, though, as it does look like we got a real brief pause coming out here, that the reason why this ended up working for them in the early game so well is, remember, Custer's the one that rotated over to dual lane to give them that gank, and Ares had to survive 2v1 in the mid lane up against the jungler and the mid laner from the opposing side. And he did it fantastically. Actually brought the enemy junglers get very, very low in that mid lane, so that's a big part of how they were able to turn that one around to their advantage and then go steal that red.
That's the one advantage that you have as a outwash player, is the fact that a lot of people don't really expect to take that kind of burst damage in return.
Right.
That's the whole idea and mindset behind Nua and behind Outwash, is to return fire damage. They don't have those natural escapes, but they do have a lot of burst in close proximity.
That's right, and Opwash is easily able to do that when we even saw him backing up and using those corpses like we talked about to try and get a little bit more sustained back up. So once he has more cooldown, he's able to put those out relatively cheaply mana-wise, then he can really start to make sure that in lane his sustain is off the charts. So even more trouble potentially for Time to Feed is that Opwash in mid.
More importantly than the Outwash middle is also going to be the Arachne in the jungle that got that first blood. That was
scary.
A really important start, because Arachne is one of these momentum-based gods.
Yeah.
If you're behind or even, she starts to lose a little bit of her flavor over the duration of the game. So you need to get a grip of the game really quickly, very strongly, and then just don't let it go.
And we've seen already from Custard that he's very willing, Tully, to play this aggressively. He was underneath the tier 2 tower like a minute or two into the game, trying to find that last hit he needed to secure a kill. So I'd be afraid to give him a lead on that Arachne pick already, because clearly he's willing to go for it.
Oh yeah, it's not a bad idea here, considering, you use your bite. You're going to not only apply a dot, but you're going to be healing yourself over time as well. It's basically the best of both worlds, something that Custer's probably going to use to his advantage as the game progresses. Try to isolate that one target. He wouldn't really be afraid to dive the tier 2 tower even at maybe before level 5, because you don't have that ultimate to get you out. But once the game progresses, he gets his ultimate. That's going to be a form of escape. He's going to use the blink to engage, slow people down with the web, stun them out with the steroid attack speed, and then, finish them off with that first bite, and then if he's in trouble, ulti away.
And you mentioned that Blink already. Don't forget, we saw Dark Artist had picked up Blink early. A lot of the times on a Gev, the Blink is good. It lets you get the Blink Cataclysm. It's a good initiation, but in the early game, you kind of do want a defensive relic over there in the dual lane too.
Especially when you know you're going to get bullied that hard by such an aggressive composition of Cerberus and the Izanami. That's just screaming pure aggression. They're preparing for this 5-minute Gold Fury.
With these webs or from the spiders, that's going to help a lot, not just for the damage, but helping to tank this up a little bit too. They are going to let the damage go in onto Vintage. You've got the Oracles on this as well, so the vision is certainly theirs. I don't think they recognize. Instead, they're committing to the mid lane where there's a fight happening there, and this is going to be a Gold Fury going the way of Adopted Squad. Ares is going to fall in trade for it, and Vintage is going to die to the Gold Fury, but at least they got it.
Vintage definitely didn't need to die there, but still a favorable trade at the end of the day. It's too early to try to go for a tier 1 tower. All it's going to take is one god on each lane to defend it at this point. So with a 2,000 gold lead, almost the same amount of experience, Adopted Squad are slowly building a foundation to continue raising the Sky Razor.
I agree. This lead is starting to get good for them, and I mean, at 6 minutes, 2,000 is not anything to scoff at either. Ares, though, did get taken down the mid lane. Looks like his Aegis is on cooldown as well, Tully, so he even tried to use that and was still caught out between the pressure here from General and Prov in the mid lane. We're seeing some of that Opwash damage, though, come out. Even with the Gev shield, it can chunk.
It's the last breath. Even though you use that the Aegis to be able to mitigate about 2 seconds worth of damage, the basic attack is going to do so much bonus damage afterwards because of the poisons being applied. The blink from General is going to be important to cut the distance. Otherwise, you're not really going to be able to get in there. You need to use the ambush defensively.
The stun didn't hit onto Prov. He is going to be able to backfire to get away. Stygian Torment comes out. They're pulling General back into the entirety be the team.
No mana.
Ares is damaged a little bit off the mark, but you're right, there's no way for General to escape. Finds it with the in-hand. They don't steal away the buff, but they find the kill.
Great turnaround kill there. Ares gets his revenge with the last hit. Very important to build health around a Circuit. Hold that thought, though. Alcremito, he's going to get dove here.
He is. He does have the jump available. He wants to try and trade his life away. Realize he probably can't escape. Can't find it, though. Jake Pocket plays defensively, and Vintage, paired up with Custard, find that kill. Now that's a second spill that Alcremito's taken.
I like what Adopted Squad did there. They didn't really apply the damage until they got close enough to...
Right.
They didn't want to take additional unnecessary tower shots for their trouble. Finding their second kill onto Alcremito, allowing Jake Pocket to get this bit of experience lead. And I was mentioning earlier on about how it will be important for Ares to build that health with the Warlock staff because of the way Last Breath works. It ignores protections, so it doesn't ignore health. Instead, that's going to be the route for the Outwash middle.
Yeah, that's going to help Outwash up against General. Totally. You were talking about the stacks earlier in this dual lane, how relevant they are. They continue to be. Hunter's Blessing already finished here for Jake Pocket, helped out in that engagement. Also has the Devourer's Gauntlets finished already, too. The Transcendence from Alcremito, he had to transition over instead and to try and do those Ninja Tabi to try and stay relevant, so he'll be behind stacking-wise as well.
Trying to get the physical power for the ricochets is the idea for Alcremito. He has the Gep Shield, so not relying on lifesteal, relying on his teammate to bail him out. Might need some more of these defensive auras from him if he wants to keep his teammates alive, specifically that Gauntlet of Thebes that applies both physical and magical auras.
Verite gets plucked back into the tower, but doesn't seem to mind. I like this, though. Adopted Squad are here for the respawn of this red buff. Blink in from Dark Artist, trying to set up for the ultimate over the top to come out from Prog, and it does deal quite a bit of damage, pulling Dark Artist back in, but you can see he can't come around the wall. Dark Artist is going to be able to escape, but we are not going to be able to save him for Ares. General finds that with his ultimate, getting trapped inside those slows right now. Is going to be Jake Pocket. Alcremito just needs to line of sight here.
Trying to run away here. Needs to hit this ricochet. He connects on the basic attack. Gets off the 3. Can he hit it?
Good shot.
It does, but it's just not enough damage. He pings out for General, who blinks over the wall, and is going to deathbane out.
That's perfect. I know that General was just asking in the comms, where is he under the tower, so I can blink in, and we saw him able to clean that up. This is a good fight so far here for Time to Feed, and Vintage looks like he wants to try and keep it going. Look at that burst damage coming out from the Cerberus. Alcremito going to have to retreat.
The Hound of Hell really showing what he's all about, and that red buff invade, too ambitious. They were all grouped up for a triple Cataclysm knockup into the triple Vulcan ultimate. Hitting all 3 of those abilities on all 3 gods allows the turnaround play. Time to Feed found 2 kills and secure their own red buff.
And totally, I think that there's something to be said for not getting to play against Vulcan as much anymore. Against just about every other mage in the meta, that plays probably okay. Your Cataclysm into like Final Judgment's bad. You know, all those things still hurt, but from that far away to have that big of an impact that Prov was able to have, that's kind of a Vulcan special, man. And he drops it on top of him. Everyone immediately is so low, and I gotta feel like Adopted Squad just weren't ready for it.
No, not at all, especially with General cleaning up Ares immediately after with the last breath.
Right.
Very easy to pick off the Outwash that's sitting at less than 50% health at the time. Didn't really have Warlock staff either. That always needs to be in the back of your mind, the Vulcan ultimate, or any sort of global / semi-global / long-distance artillery shot. If you're fighting against Ra, Thoth, Chiron, Vulcan, like those gods, you have to make sure, like, okay, if they are in the proximity, then need to worry about those long distance shots.
Yeah, got to make sure that you're being prepared for him, and it looks like this time Time to Feed caught him off guard a bit. Here it comes one more time, being there for the red buff, but this time it didn't have nearly as much setup. Ares is able to find Prov, and now they can turn their attention back towards this red buff. Alcremito is here, and he's going to drop down the Sunbreaker to try and defend it, but Jake Pocket not going to let him come in any further. They're going to retreat. And it looks like they're actually able to take that one away, Total.
So Adopted Squad strategy now is going to be the red buff invade. Like the 4-minute mark, they didn't go for it. They instead were setting up for the 5-minute Gold Fury. And now with the respawn timer, just going to burn that one to the ground. Great use of the shots to be able to find the red buff invade, picking off multiple members, or at least getting multiple people low enough that they can't even contest the Gold Fury. Provs was slowed down by the Outwash ultimate, had beads available, but didn't use it. He needed to disengage faster.
Yeah, Provs might have thought he was going to be able to make it out, or thought the opposite. There was no way he was going to make it out, but either way, he does end up falling. Ares has a chance to put some good damage here on the Dark Artist, but Probs is here this time. Cataclysm gonna set up the return fire as Probs wins a little damage on top, but Ares gonna be able to sustain up without too much trouble. Gotta watch out, though, as General's here over the wall.
The Aegis is available for him. He connects on the Deathbane a little bit too early on that Aegis. He's gonna get some of those damage over time ticks, but can't commit any further. Custard is right around the corner. Probs needs to be a little mindful, because that Blink Arachne will be his end.
Couldn't find the Cobra's Kiss over the wall. Aegis was there to immune a lot of the damage, too, and then the perfect Stygian Torment from Vintage peeled everyone away, and Ares is able to just kind of walk away. That's all Opwash really has to do, though, is just walk away. Doesn't have any movement abilities, none of that, so he was able to get on out of there, and the rest of time to feed have to retreat.
Could be looking for another red buff invade that's spawning in less than 30 seconds. Probs sitting rather low enough for Arachne to come in and clean them up, and also without a Gebel to defend that red buff, it's not a bad opportunity for Adopted Squad to continue that strategy of looking for these red buff invades. With such a good lead in the gold department, it's actually a comeback for Acromito. He got the experience that he needs to stay relevant, sitting at level 11 alongside Jake Pocket.
But I like this from Jake Pocket, though. He's choosing to go with that Ick Vial Totally. This is an item that was changed recently, does provide a lot of what this Izanami is going to be wanting to try and benefit from, even within this game itself. I want to see how well this boxing match is going to go between the two of them. Even with Alcremito at even levels, Izanami is still going to be more than he can try and fight into.
I also like the changes that we did to this item. Reduces your target's magical power from items by 15 as well. So it's easier to box into some of these magical hunters that are seeing more and more often here, specifically the Soul and the Chronos. In the mid lane, though, tier 1 tower, they're going to be able to siege this down. Adopt the Squad, getting it for free. Time to feed, nowhere to be found.
Not going to be there, so they are going to be able to take it. Or at least they have to back up for now. General and Dark Artist rotated over. Then instead, they're going to turn their attention towards the Pyromancer. Adopted Squad have been objective-focused all game long, but for the first time, they're going to deal with Verite, who's trying to make it not. Going to be able to get there in time, though, so Adopted Squad get that one for free.
A little bit too slow to make that rotation impactful. Those bear swipes could definitely look for the steal very easily, with all those abilities being burned very quickly from Adopted Squad. They continue to get these objectives. 2 Gold Furies thus far, 1 Pyromancer. They're in a good spot to continue this pressure.
I like this, though. Alcremito not going to be able to out-rotate Jake Pocket, and even if he does, not going to have the same impact when he gets there, because they're kind of grouping up right now. So instead, focusing on farming up. He's level 13 now, at least experience-wise, is past Jake Pocket, even taking that tier 1 tower in the duo lane. So you can see, yeah, the experience is a lot closer than the gold lead is right now, totally.
That feel when a Geb just steals your purple buff, it's one of the slowest clearing gods in the game, unless like you have Assassin's Blessing. Have seen some of Geb jungle, Geb soul lane so far in Season 4, Season 5. Taking a little bit of poke here as Prov, sitting in the yellow marker. Custard could look to blink in here. It is available for him. He has Stone Cutting Sword, but it's going to be Ares looking for the poke instead.
It is going to be Ares looking for poke, and I want to talk about his build path. He already has the Warlock Staff. It looks to me like, oh, hold that, stop. Probs is in trouble in mid lane. Probs is gone in the mid lane. Custard, all he has to do is catch you out just a little bit by yourself, and it's an easy kill for the Arachne. Probs goes down for another 30 seconds.
Still no use of the beads, but now sitting at level 13, has the luxury to pick up that second relic, needs to get the Aegis and start using these defensive relics to get away from all this danger.
Yeah, instead being very patient with the use of these relics, it feels like, is Praz right now, the mid laner. Alcremito has to drop the ultimate, just try and clear out the minion wave, but it's Custard, the one that's blinking in on the backside. Stygian Torment catches Alcremito just barely and holds him in place long enough for Custard to find the damage. Cataclysm comes out to create a little bit of space for General to go in with the last breath, but up into the air, they're trying to avoid any kind of follow-up from those in-hands as it's Custard. He's going to be making the retreat as the tier 2 tower falls in duo.
Great engage there coming out of the Cerberus. He just kind of penetrates the backline, goes so deep, and makes it impossible for Hou Yi to realistically even get close to defend that tier 2 tower. And with his death, and with General having to back off from getting too low, that was a hard disengage. They'll outwash zombies that come from his ultimate, slowing you down consistently and doing a lot more damage than people expect.
Yeah, I think they're going to be surprised by that outwash damage. And I was talking a little bit earlier about where Ares is going to be going with his build, and exactly where I thought, that Gem of Isolation, man. If you thought Opwash was obnoxious before, everything in his kit's going to be slowing you now. It's even worse, totally.
And now he's building into defense. I like this opportunity for him to get a little bit more tanky. We talk about how hard it is to kill Opwash once he gets some health, once he gets some protections. Nice pluck on Sapravs, trying to chase him down, missing the mark on the Izanami ultimate, but that's not going to stop the Cerberus.
That was a good knockup from Pravs, but still not going to be enough, because this time King of Heroes is here, and he's the king of this team fight so far. Izanami in hand from Jake Pocket, going to find their second kill of the game. Alchemito at least able to get the return kill on the Vintage, who had taken a lot of poke being the front line for the rest of the team, but I don't know where he's supposed to go now, totally. It's Custard's barreling down on him. Jumping back over the wall, but actually aggro's the Gold Fury.
No, he's going to take 2 shots for his trouble, but King of Heroes, he gets 1 in the beginning, and then he gets a second to end the team fight. General going to get zoned away. It's up to Veredi playing this RDO that's been a little bit quiet, but not in position to steal this objective. Third Gold Fury of the game going all towards Adopted Squad.
It is entirely going away of Adopted Squad here. 10-4, they sit in the kills totally, but much more relevant than that is the 7,000 gold lead that they've built up for themselves so far. Pairing with it is a 5,000 experience lead as well. And it's been done off the back of these objectives. They only have 6 more kills than Time to Feed, but they've either been taking red buffs off of them, Gold Furies, or Pyromancers, or Towers every single time.
This is a good example for a lot of aspiring players to look at this game and reflect on how you can capitalize on certain advantages. Adopted Squad got a lead in the dual lane and extended that by consistently invading the dual lane side. They ignored the solo lane. There's no reason to try to gank either a Sobek or an RDO. Now, granted, General did make his presence felt on King of Heroes, and guess what happened? He couldn't really find the kill there either way. There was one little factor is all it's going to take for a tanky Guardian to get away. So all that time invested in the solo lane becomes lackluster. Meanwhile, you're losing your buffs on the left side, so favoring Adopted Squad in the long run.
And that's, I'm so glad you brought that up, totally, because that's what makes the jungle role so important this season. I think more than any season we've had so far, is because you kind of have to make those calls during the game. If our lane's behind, do I want to go over and try and help the lane and restore it back to balance? Or do I want to focus my attention elsewhere? The call this time was to try and go slow down King of Heroes, but as you said, that just was not going to work up against that Sobek, and instead the lead gets even worse. And now, look at Jake Pocket shredding through the Pyromancer with the help of its Custard. All that attack speed he's built up so far, they destroyed it.
That was their second Pyromancer, and with 3 Gold Furies on top of it, there are about 8,000 gold in the lead, looking so solid to get to that 5-digit marker lead, trying to chase out General, but he's a little too quick. Sarkett with speed buff, not the target you're going to be able to get. Poking out the Vulcan a little bit. Cataclysm setting up Vulcan.
And there's the follow-up damage from Praz, but this time the Aegis does come out from Ares, going to immune the damage, and instead Stygian Torment going to send him right back into Jake Pocket, who shreds Dark Artist into the ground. Custard continuing to try and duke it out on the backside with General, as Jake Pocket is able to find Verite as well. Custard eventually does hit home and find the kill. Probs gets moved back in as well. King of Heroes is suddenly a part of the game. Now he's got 3 kills for himself. Mid-Phoenix going to be falling as 4 members have all fallen. And Alcremito's not even here. He's pushing in duo lane.
He was trying to get some gold back for his teammates, and they're going to go for a very early end. It's 20 minutes into the game. The Hou-Yi Suns are coming out, but the aggro needs to be leashed, taking more damage than they really bargained for. And with the spawning of Dark Artist and everyone else, honestly, the levels are a little bit too low to end the game here. There's also 2 more towers in the solo lane that must be demolished to make the Titan more vulnerable and look for an easier time to end.
Yeah, totally. I think you're right there. The towers, those towers up, it was going to be hard for them to go in and get that end. But I want to talk a little bit about Alcremito's decision-making there. I think that was the right call. Do they defend the Phoenix if he's there?
So the thing is, if Alcremito's in middle, then they defend tier 2 towers. But without Alcremito, it should have been a collective team unit to let the tier 2 tower in middle go, because you're going to get one anyway on the left side, and then just try to defend under your Phoenix, because the call was to defend. They lose all their members, they lose their Phoenix to follow, and then it becomes a mess all across the board for Time to Feed. So they needed to commit to the defense of the Phoenix or have him defend the tier 2.
Yeah, I agree with you entirely on that one, totally. Trading the tier 2 for the tier 2 would have been fine, but instead they end up giving up too much. Now that Phoenix will forever be weakened for the rest of the game here, and already getting this Fire Giant started up yet again here as King of Heroes. They want to claim this objective as their own. It's Custard, stunned out and controlled. a little bit on the front side of the team fight. Instead of going for the Fire Giant, they want to try and get this fight that Custer has started up. And it's Verite, they're locking in, but the ultimate comes over the wall. Hits 3 members. Verite still low and not discouraged. Our adopted squad, Vintage, is the one that ends up finding him. Stygian Torment, it does catch Probs and pull him right back in. Aegis not going to last long enough. Dark Artist is the one who ends up falling first, and there eventually Custard finds him. General forced to leave, and yet again, Alcremito couldn't even join the fight.
3-0. Adopted squad are looking so strong. Jumping north instead of towards the lane. Ares gets hit by the 3rd bounce there, taking a lot of damage for his troubles, but it's going to be so big, helping him out. Nice tail flip, secures the Fire Giant, secures their 4th kill of that team fight, and looking solid to get themselves another Phoenix.
They are going to be pushing now is Adopted Squad, and that fight went so in their favor. Time to Feed were coming up to try and defend. They had 2 members fighting up against It's Custard, and it looked like initially the call was going to be to go for Fire Dime, and then they realized, whoa, we can just win this fight, Toli.
The good thing about that team fight for Time to Feed was their ability to really bait out their front line to allow Vulcan to do the damage.
Yeah.
You use that RDO to your advantage. Get that big Vulcan ultimate on top of 3, 4, even 5 people. Adopted Squad needs to be more mindful about that long distance ability that we were talking about earlier on.
They had the ultimate, but it just didn't have the damage yet. Probs a little bit too far behind, as already they're going to be pulling him back in. Has the Geb shield down. No longer going to have that available. Backfire to get him away. Has to drop the ultimate down on top of himself and does negligible damage. Vintage, though, continuing to take up the tower is low. Phoenix into falling. Dark Artist going to be the first casualty of war. Custard is the one that got the last hit necessary. Probs on the backside falls to King of Heroes as well. Even with the Suns raining down, Adopted Squad continue to fight in the Suns. Ares gets a double kill, taking down General as well. Make it a triple kill for Outwash. Deicide comes out. Game 1 going to be going the way of Adopted Squad.
This Outwash mid lane, the last pick, was a great showing for Adopted Squad. 23-4 read the kills at the end of the game, looking so solid in game number 1.
If I could talk to Toli back before Season 5 started and I said, hey, Outwash could easily be the MVP of that game, what would you have said to me, Toli?
I would have said you are crazy.
Yeah.
But that's what happened here in Southeast Asia. They first picked the Izanami for good reason. They had a lot of dual lane pressure. The Geb was a nice idea to try to mitigate it with some shields, but it just didn't have the lane control that you're really looking for in the early portion of the game.
And you talked about that, Toli. It seemed inconsistent the way they read that duo lane. They did seem to recognize that they weren't going to have lane pressure. They go to the buff to try and start it, but also they go with the offensive relics. I've
seen that strategy before, but I see that strategy where the dual lane starts their own red buff, not the purple. Purple is too close to the laning phase. You want to be able to get your buff and still make it safely, but because they did purple, they got invaded and they lost their own wave, so they were already behind like a whole wave and the purple.
And they never got that pressure back, Toli. So we are ready to go into picks and bans here for Game 2. Take a look, see if they want to try and change it up in that drafting phase. Do the boys of Time to Feed. They don't want to play into their namesake too much, I think.
I definitely would agree with you there. Maybe not necessarily needing to take away specific picks from Adopted Squad. I think they just need to change their play style a little bit. They need to expect that early dual lane gank coming from Custard as well. That was a really important first blood for an Arachne, being able to secure that one.
And the Arachne actually is going to be taken away by Time to Feed. They do not want to deal with Custard on that one again. And they ban away the Nemesis, so that means a lot of those mid-mages they prioritize are going to be up. Yeah, Cerberus taken first there by Adopted Squadron.
Surprisingly enough, Cerberus did do a lot of work that last game. It's very important to, get the right targets hit by the Ghastly Breath, slow them down, and lower their magical protection. It was mostly the Cerberus setting up Ares for the outwash damage that really helped them out.
Agni is going to be the mage that's prioritized over all the other mages available. Soul, Thoth, there are a lot of choices, but they choose that Agni for good reason. It is very safe, that range damage is very strong, and the dash, too, can get Agni out of danger.
Maybe they're just choosing Hindu gods here. Time to Feed.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
I wonder if this team is really savage as well. Potentially.
Maybe.
Yeah. Izanami and Ardio are going to be the selections, though, from Adopted Squad. Izanami played very well for Jake Pocket last game. No reason not to go back to that, and then going to add the Ardio to the mix as well. Could be solo or support between the Cerberus,
That's
RDO.
true.
Any early call on that one?
That's very true. Last game we saw, I think it was the RDO that was paired up with the Geb, actually. So it was the Sobek and the Cerberus. And the flip side of things for Adopted Squad, they were able to really flex that out because Sobek could be played in the solo lane, Cerberus could be played in that solo lane, and that's exactly what could be the case here for Adopted Squad. They might be able to lean onto their Cerberus in the support role still. It was a great opportunity to really look for those early 2v2, 3v3 fights where Gasoline Breath is so effective.
Yeah, I think that you're exactly right. Cerberus can do just fine in the support or the solo role, so it's hard to tell now for Time to Feed that flex pick going to work for them. They elect to take the Cabrakan pick for themselves, though. I had that inflection on there. I'm not saying I'm surprised like Cabrakan's not strong right now, but we don't see it picked as much.
Normally, you pick it against gods that can't necessarily get through that the wall there.
Right.
And there's a couple of them that could. Cerberus can jump over it, Izanami can dash over it, but actually Susanoo was picked after the Cabrakan. Surprising because you can't really jet stream through it.
Right.
Unless you already did it before, and then you could jet stream around it. But Susanoo can definitely pull Cabrakan out of the tremors, disrupting that damage over time.
That's right. He does have that good matchup as we get ready to head into Game 2 between Adopted Squad and Time to Feed. I kind of like the Hades pickup, though, if you think about it into the Cabrakan. Either one, he can jump out, or two, he can say, fine, let's fight here, and I'll just ult.
That's right. He can silence you as well. He gets so much protections during the ultimate. Once you blight a few target members, you're going to lower their protection. So Voidstone is going to be a key pickup for Ares, who has a very interesting god pool thus far. Hades is not a common god in Season 5. Divios did play him the one time, I believe it was, in the solo lane not too long ago in the North American side of things of the SPL, but showing us all that could be played in more than one position.
We're seeing Ares mid right now, and I like the start he's going with, too. He's going with Tier 2 of that Bancross Talon. So much synergy between the Hades and the Lifesteal.
It's so funny when you have a player that's named after a god. So when you say Ares mid, I'm like, what if there actually was an Ares middle? That would be scary for the mid-mage.
It would be scary. It would definitely need to get a kill, I think.
Yeah, the whole idea behind Ares non-support is looking for that 100-0 potential. Jake Pocket loves to go for these early boxing exchanges. He did it in game number 1, doing it in game number 2, and that's why I think that Time to Feed are switching it up with his Ganesh. The way it kind of augments more of your Hunter's damage. Once you throw out that Spirit Ball, getting that extra damage for not only yourself, but your Hunter, allowing you guys to hopefully outclear this Izanami.
I think Alcremito likes his Hunters to have big circles, though, right?
Sure.
He took the Ho Yi last game, and then now he's got the Wild Hunt.
That's true.
Yeah.
Ricochet, though, is not the easiest ability in the
No,
world
not
to
at
hit.
all, and he was killing it, yeah. Alcremito, though, does also have the benefit of that stance or the different seasons he's able to switch through.
Yep.
The Lifesteal passive going to be able to come in big for him here, where he's going to have that advantage over Jake Pocket, but the real advantage is going to be the wave clear of Adopted Squad, already going for that red buff invade, and Probs can't rotate over to that, so instead that red buff invade going to be free.
And this is the one problem for Time to Feed, is that because the Izanami is through, they're just getting out-cleared. This time around, though, they did grab their own wave. They're trying to defend their own purple buff, but it's secured. Hitting level 2, Adopted Squad are continuing to fight.
They switched targets, though. It looked like Vintage was the one that was very low. Instead, they end up starting to switch towards Jake Pocket. Now they're able to split that damage up just a little bit. They're both level 2 here, are the Adopted Squad players, as Ares finds General with a little bit of help from its Custard in the mid lane. Adopted Squad going to be able to get out of dodge after their invade on duo side and find a kill in mid.
No blink equals no life. General wanting to play aggressive with this blink Thanatos play. He probably got pulled in by Custard into a whole world of nonsense. Jake Pocket goes in because it's only level 1 on both of them.
Jake Pocket does indeed go an aggressive. Vintage finally follows that up with his first ability, and it chunks Dark Artist as well as Alcremito. They do not find the kill, but they do force them back. They do, and this aggression, I feel like, is because its Custard is in the jungle and has a chance to come help them out a little bit too. They want to try and find a kill as King of Heroes gets very low in solo.
Needs to be very careful about the burst damage come from this Cabrakan. He can clear with the Tremors so effectively, and even if you do disrupt that ability, it'll come back up in 8 seconds time, so it's almost not even worth trying to disrupt it. Let the damage go through, let the mana be used.
King of Heroes gonna have to back this one up. A lot of the times that cripple field can be very disruptive against their lane opponent, but not really going to be a big problem for Verite, who is happily able to just continue swinging through it. General's here, though, and King of Heroes is low. This could potentially be a setup, but back underneath the tower is the Artie.
That's the one disadvantage about oh, the dash was caught out, the stun as well, holding on to the death side for a little bit there. Or maybe it was intercepted by one of the minions. There was setup. The Kabrakan did stun him out. A little bit of a disconnect between General and Verite.
Yeah, I think you must be right that it hit a minion. There's no way he wouldn't use it. We didn't have it available there. He blinked in, had the silence too, just to make sure they definitely interrupted that dash. So that was the exact setup you want when you're ganking the RDO. But King of Heroes, with that heal that's in the kit, able to hit both gods with that first ability and heal back up, is going to make it out of there.
Also getting some sustain from his Warrior's Blessing, a very popular item in Season 5. Getting 40 health and mana every 10 seconds makes it so much easier to stay relevant in any lane that you go. That's why some supports that go Warriors will also pick up this Blessing.
Purple buff was yet again stolen away by Adopted Squad. Can see that one chilling on Vintage. And they still have the level lead as a result of the pressure they have over here in duo. Remember, the only kill was onto General. They're able to find it over there in the jungle by the mid lane. So Jake Pocket and Vintage have been doing this over here just by clearing the buffs more often.
And now because of that failed invade, or failed gank rather, from General on the right side of the map, it's basically Custard controlling a lot of the left side. Not able to really get off more of these red buff and purple buff invades until Ares actually gets one of his own. He's able to kind of control that side of the field pretty strongly.
All right, Tolly. Talk to me a little bit here about Provs and this Doom Orb that we're seeing. We have the Mage's Blessing, and then choosing to go with a bridge item we don't see too much of here nowadays.
It's really cheap, 1,700 gold, I believe it is, and more importantly, like after you're clearing waves and waves and getting the last hits, you're getting that extra magical power, extra movement speed. It's just one of those opportunities to look for more burst damage. But against Ares, that basically rushed Talon's Trinket to start into Shoes of Magi, this item is not going to help you survive.
Pulled back in is Probs and taken down. General is lurking up in the air but not able to find it. Custard jukes it out, immediately drops down. The Pillar of Agony does the Ares and finds a double kill. General falls as well. 3 members in mid go down to the pressure from Adopted Squad as Verite's in trouble in solo as well.
The shell being used, stun out as well. Both of these guys
Custard's
hitting
here.
each other with bricks. King of Heroes heals off of the Warrior's Blessing. Here comes Custard and a nice 4-player kill for Adopted Squad over the last 30 seconds. Great plays from Custard. He was able to hit not only General, but also aimed it in such a way that it would hit out Dark Artist that was caught under the Pillar of Agony.
There are a couple big things that happened in that fight for me too, Totally, but you're right. Part of it was that good play from Custard. Also, General wasn't able to land his ultimate onto anyone when he came down from the sky, so no stun, no utility to help out with the fight. Also, huge burst damage Ares got to start things off in the mid lane on top of Pro.
Oh yeah, level 5 Agony doesn't really have much business dealing with such a high level Hades. It's not going to be a good look for him whatsoever. He didn't even like have time to dash away. He should have done it immediately. Once you see the Hades dashing on you, he's going to follow it up normally with a silence into the Devour of Souls. Your only mechanism of safety is to dash away.
Yeah, you never want to be next to a Hades and your own minion wave. That's like a bunch of free damage that's going to be coming your way. And Probs ends up taking all of that right to the face, and Ares is able to set the kill up in the end afterwards.
A little bit of a damage check here with 2 bombs. Ares is down to about 60% health, but Bancroft's talent has been completed. Lifesteal
scary.
Expanding ever so slightly, and not to mention with the Devour of Souls.
Already has the pull on a General. He is able to charge the ultimate just barely in time. Going to now be trying to get away from Custard and Ares. It looked like they were trying to see if maybe they could catch him where he landed, but he's going to be safe that far back. Instead, King of Heroes is going to turn his attention towards his lane opponent that he now has about a level and a half lead over. General, you can't come contest this, not with that health total.
Oh, 2 bombs, needs to connect on anything else. He dashes in. Instead of using his flame wave, it must have been used in middle.
Something like that. I agree with you, Totally. I can't believe he wouldn't have used that. Vintage able to find General, who for some reason came back into that fight on that right-hand side. But you're right, General, again, misses the death side. You're right, he doesn't even need to hit the opponent. If he just hits a camp, he at least heals. Now Probs is trapped in the Pillar of Agony.
Gonna get able to get the least Dark Artist with the knockup. Probs will finally fall. He did use the beads to get out, but
Oh, that's good.
that's a very important return kill. He was sitting at 5-0-2 before that death, but getting that kill here, because Ganesh got the kill, the way the passive works is you're going to give it to whoever was closest to you, but Pravs died right there, means that he gets credit.
It's Custard comes over and catches Alcremito too far forward. And I don't blame Alcremito. He was actually winning the boxing matchup against Jake, but when you're playing here at the highest level of Smite, you're not really in a 1v1. You got to be mindful of the rest of the map, and Custard came over to take it.
You got to be worried about the Custard, man. It's always deadly.
Yeah.
Can you imagine dying by a Custard?
So what happened to you? How'd you die? It was Custard.
Yeah, it got me.
Feels bad. Custard was able to find it. We talked a little bit about Prav's aggression in the mid lane, especially against this Hades. I mean, it's not as if he's gone the Warlock Sass start either. Does not have that much extra tankiness. Don't even get a chance to cover, though. Dark Artist gets chunked in the mid lane. Vintage gonna get credit for that one. He's looking for Pravs. Does force the damage, or the dash, rather. And Pravs has to get out of there.
Caught between a rock and a hard place. As a support player for Dark Artist's mentality, he wanted to go out and ward. He has Chalice of the Oracle, which is a great item to, you know, spot people out, getting 2 free wards upon going back to the base every single time. Using the shell, stunning out. Oh, but the counter shell keeps him alive.
Sets up the stun in return from Verite, but he can't stick around. He does have General here, this time blinking in. This time misses the Death Scythe yet again. Did find the wider side for the silence, but no chance for Team Heroes to sustain. Just used all his abilities in the 1v1. General gets that kill.
I don't think he had the mana to really stay relevant, but I think that if he used a basic... Oh, hold that thought, though, because Ares dashes in, forces both escapes, however, will be a wash. But going back to that solo lane gank, I think that if King of Heroes attacked the Thanatos to proc one of his Warrior's Blessing stacks, he would have maybe had enough mana to at least dash away after the Death Scythe missed.
Is Alcremito dead?
He's dead.
He is dead, indeed.
He died by Jake's pocket. What's worse, dying by a pocket or dying by Custard?
Probably Custard. No, probably Pocket.
Like, how does the Pocket even get you?
Yeah, how does? I guess that's true. But see, that's the interesting part. Now everyone's asking questions. How did you die to the Pocket? Whose pocket was it? It was Jake's pocket, but I mean, is that relevant? A lot of questions.
In the mid lane, after this Gold Fury, nice 5,000 gold lead for Adopted Squad. It's not the same 5-minute Gold Fury that they got in the first game as they were setting it up with their Arachne webs, but I'm sure that they're happy with the pacing. Already 10 minutes in with such a convincing lead.
Yeah, 13 kills, been more than a kill a minute, at least total in this game. General's up in the air, comes down inside the Dharmic Pillars. This time, they actually do find the damage on the Custard, who falls first. Ares in trouble here, too. Doesn't have a chance to get any abilities off. Pravs gets that kill, but now Vintage rotates in. Dark Artist is going to fall. He has Jake Pocket here in tow as well, Stygian Torment to hold him in place, and that was all Jake Pocket needed to find a double kill. General at least returns the favor, but Alcremito rotates in and falls as well. Tectonic Shift not going to lock in the dog as Vintage jumps away.
A 3 for 3 is the best that Time Defeat could ever hope for, realistically. Just lining up perfectly for that double Thanatos stun, setting up the Path of Flames from Agni, and then a whole burst of damage. Even the Dharmic Pillars doing a lot of work in that last engagement.
That was a good... I agree with you. That's kind of the best fight Time Defeat could have hoped for, and even still, there just wasn't anything on the map for them to do because 3 members from each side fell. All they really did was just kind of slow Adopted Squad down for a minute, and I don't even know that they did that, as King of Heroes and Vintage are going to try and take the Tier 1 tower in mid. Vintage could pay for this one, and he does. Pravs finds him in the mid lane, but Custard is here to pull him in. Doesn't have, or has the Typhoon available, but doesn't even feel like he needs it. Gets the kill without it.
He's gonna charge up the Typhoon. He's not gonna connect because it was a beautiful dash away on the left side. Alcremito showing his face. He wants to go in, but it's actually Ares that's gonna scare everyone away.
Gets control. Don't forget, General's up in the air as Alcremito ends up falling. No way, though. He's gonna be able to catch up with Custard with all that movement that's inside the Susano kit. They end up getting 2 kills in return to Adopted Squad onto Pravs as well as Alcremito to turn that one back around.
Dark Artist originally did a great job of holding that Tier 1 tower against these 2 tanky frontliners, positioning himself as close as possible to their model, because what he wants to do is accidentally absorb one of their basic attacks to have the tower switch their focus from one of the minions to the god, and that's exactly what happened. I believe it was Vintage that died to the Tier 1 mid tower. He accidentally clipped the Ganesh and fell shortly after.
Now they've got the tier 1 tower in mid, the tier 1 tower in left, and are starting to turn their attention towards this Pyromancer. Don't forget, Verte's over here rotating from the solo lane as Probs is inside the cripple field. He's not going to be able to dash away and gets hunted down by the bear. King of Heroes is the one that finds that one. Now they're trapped inside the Pillar of Agony. One of the kills goes the way of Ares, and the other one goes the way of Vintage. 3 members fall for time to feed. Adopted Squad can turn back to the Pyromancer.
Hades and his Hound of Hell doing a lot of work in that team fight.
Yeah.
Pillar of Agony with Ghastly Breath. Yes, please, for Adopted Squad. Sitting with 19 kills as they confirm themselves their first Pyromancer. Very commanding, almost 8,000 gold lead. 3-level lead for Jake Pocket as he takes the 1v1.
Ends up finding the ultimate. Alchemito silenced out now. No chance for escape. Actually, he almost dodged enough in hands, but Jake Pocket finds it, puts him down in the 1v1. Not really much Alchemito could do, though, down 3 levels.
And just down a lot of sustain, going for Transcendence yet again. Not a bad idea. Carninos has a lot of scaling with all of his abilities, and not to mention Jake Pocket with his Devourer's Gloves and also being able to pick up that Ichabal. He has so much boxing potential that you have to avoid him at all costs, especially when you're 4 levels behind on the Carninos.
Yeah, there's no way he can fight into the, and not just the lead, but you're right, the build of Jake Pocket right now is just too strong for Alchemito, even with some of the lifesteal that he has natively just in his kit. General, gonna step forward a little bit into the jungle. Ares is here, though, as is Jake Pocket, so he's going to back up. Ares actually willing to dash in aggressively. 7-2 and 7 here on this, but blown up as General. He's still alive, though.
If Ares was there, all he needed was literally 1 basic attack to find the kill onto General. I could barely even see the health bar on the UI screen. Barely able to escape, though. Ares goes in, gets a double Devourer of Soul, forces out the Agni dash. Here comes Dharmic Pillars, diving the tier 2 mid tower.
Probs is trying to rein in the fire on the backside, but it's Custer that comes and finds him out. Stygian Torment forces Dark Artist away from the rest of the fight as King of Heroes continues to put damage into Alchemito, setting up Ares to find the last hit. Dark Artist now just barely still clinging to life. General does put in good damage from the backside, but King of Heroes dashes away, does eventually get hunted down by the tower shot. Ares a little bit too far forward. This tier 2 tower dive wasn't as clean from Adopted Squad as it could have been.
There was a lot of things going on for Adopted Squad that they wanted to do. Specifically, Jake Pocket wasn't there because he was split pushing in the dual lane. Tier 2 tower fell, extending that goal lead beyond the 5-digit marker. General not connecting on the dev side. But Jake Pocket, he wants to go back in. He's 5 levels ahead of the jungler.
General knows he wants nothing to do with this fight, and he does indeed back off. But you're right, Tolly. In that last team fight, not having Jake Pocket was kind of the problem for him because the tier 2 tower got almost no focus put into it. They just had that whole prolonged battle underneath the tower while it chunked them out, and eventually they couldn't keep up with it. They did at least, though, get that tier 2 over in dual lane to help things out.
And they did poke out the tier 2 mid ever so slightly. Vintage wanted to go in there alongside King of Heroes, and they just took too much damage for their trouble. I think that there needs to be slightly more patience also from Ares. Once he dashed in, he forced the escapes, granted, but normally when you're going to prematurely ultimate as a Hades, you're usually doing it to bait out defensive relics and then bait out somebody else for your team to follow up once those escapes are down.
That's a good point, Tolly. There's enough abilities on the side of Adopted Squad to force out dashes and cooldowns and relics. I don't know why he feels the need to be doing that himself, as time to feed at least get the Gold Fury and trade for this Fire Giant that's down at half health. Adopted Squad are here as General gets forced out this time, though. Nowhere for him to go. Gets pulled in by that ultimate. Verde just turns around, instead tries to go for the Fire Giant. Not going to get it done. Instead, he ends up taking his life in trade. Adopted Squad get the Fire Giant. They get 2 kills, and now they look for more.
Time to feed. Recognize that they can't make an impact in the Fire Giant side, or at least out of their dual lane, so they're going to split push. They got the tier 1 tower, and this could be another case where it could be a base race. Alchemito was playing the Ho Yi in the first game, where he got the tier 2 dual lane tower, but at the cost of that middle Phoenix, and not without any hesitation, Adopted Squad are taking their talents to the solo lane.
That's where they're going to go to try and get that Phoenix, and Ares, good guy Ares, going to try and get this mid tier 2 tower for them as well. Not going to back, though, is Alchemito yet again. Jake Pocket with that stim is shredding not only Dark Artist, but the Phoenix as well. Dark Artist ends up falling, make it 2 kills as General dies as well. Phoenix is yet another casualty to add to the list. 3, if you want to count it, going the way of Adopted Squad.
Alchemito is committing to the left side. Phoenix, Ares on the Hades has responded in kind, will successfully defend it. With Adopted Squad getting the Phoenix on the right and the Phoenix in middle soon. Probs is actually getting focused out by King of Heroes. Everyone from Adopted Squad, they're just feeling themselves here, Finch.
At this point, they know that they can take these fights. Verite just controlled with the Stygian Torment so that Jake Pocket can start shredding. I know we said that the Hunters, this isn't their time, but Jake Pocket is putting that to bed here in this game totally on this Izanami pick. 6-1 and 3. Only needs a little help from his friends to start shredding him as Alcremito falls as well.
Just chasing him down. How dare you get our tier 2 tower? How dare you think you can get our Phoenix? 30-9 read the kills for Adopted Squad. They're in a quicker pace to end this game than they were in the last.
10-3 and 10 for this Hades mid laner as well. I mean, we've seen what the Opwash and the Hades here, and both of those have done well. Neither one of those are traditional mid laners, and Ares is showing you don't have to play one of them to do well.
It just goes to show that there's so much of a god selection in Season 5. We're seeing so many different junglers, so many different mid mages, and everything underneath the sun can be basically played, I believe, competitively in Smite Season 5 more than any other season.
Yeah, there's very few gods that I would say like they just cannot ever work totally. You got to maybe build your team comp around them, play a specific way, yes, and maybe it's a much higher threshold. Like you got to do really, really well to make it work. But I think everything in the game right now can do well. And Adopted Squad showing that as Jake Pocket dukes out up against Alcremito. Actually gets a little bit of help from General. That's going to let him juke around for the moment. Gets rooted in, and the blink comes out to get him away. General wants to go in for the execute, but not going to find it.
Actually, it was a kill being done by, I believe, the Ganesh that gave him that kill. General going to get knocked up and pulled. Shell coming out from the Cabrakan, not enough to keep him alive. The Typhoon knockup is good. Dark Artist is trying to run away from Custard.
Actually finds a 3-man stun as Verite, as you're well, Dark Artist must run on the backside. Verite is going to get away, as is Dark Artist.
That's a big oops if you're Ares, wasting an ultimate there.
Yeah, not what he wanted. 1 for 1, though. Once again, kind of the best that Time to Feed could hope. They did also take down Jake Pocket, who's been a huge problem for them in these fights. So now with the 4-on-4, they have their best fight yet.
It's looking really solid still for Adopted Squad. They got the 2 Phoenixes earlier. They still have Fire Giant for another 30 seconds. This is the last wave, but it's actually Custard that falls first for them.
Now they're standing inside those trimmers from Verite, or all 3 members. Ares is forced to beads to get away from it. They could not get this Phoenix, and now Time to Feed are actually going to keep going forward. They want to find a little bit more. Ares dashes away, and Time to Feed hold.
So far, so good. They did lose those 2 Phoenixes, but still holding on to the game as the game approaches 20 minutes. Probs defending his own Titan. Time to Feed really just need to let this next Fire Giant go. If they leave their base, even for about a whole minute's time, there's going to be enough fire minions knocking on the Titan's door that'll end the game for them.
That fight started off, though, totally. Alcremito in general were able to poke down Jake Pocket so low that eventually they were able to find the kill on him. And we could see the big difference in the team fight when they didn't have that Izanami damage to try and help them out. That is Time to Feed's only real chance here, is that they can try and get rid of Jake Pocket early.
It's a lot of burst damage coming from your Izanami with a maxed out steroid. That attack speed just goes through the roof. And not to mention, I believe she still had Fire Giant, so she was going to be able to deal that 25% additional damage to structures.
No. Can't be there, Props. Plain and simple.
He wanted to outpush the fire minions as far as possible as the Phoenixes are respawning, but without vision deep in the heart of the jungle, you're going to get caught out and flanked every single time.
Yeah, in the jungle, the mighty jungle, Adopted Squad were able to find Time to Feed without any real trouble, or rather probs. Fire Giant's going to be back up here momentarily, and King of Heroes and Ares are going to be on zone duty, maybe more than zoning, as they blow General up before he can even get the ultimate off. Another 48 seconds before we'll get to see him again, as the Fire Giant falls down here to Jake Pocket and the rest of Adopted Squad. A little bit of a knock-up there, but I think they're going to be okay with it.
It definitely should be fine here. It's 3 members that need to defend this right side. Phoenix. Dark Artist is actually standing still right now. Might be having a little bit of connection issues there for him, unfortunately, but still, either way, it's going to be a clean win for Adopted Squad. Whether or not he was still in the game, it was not looking good for the Chaos side.
No, things that were pretty far gone by this point already. Wild Hunt comes out, but you can barely even tell. Going to the backside is Verite. He remembers that trying to find Jake Pocket is the only way they want to fight, but Ares and the rest of the team are too strong on the backside. Probs ends up falling. Verite can not get any damage into Jake Pocket, who looks fully healed. Verite gets chunked down, as does the Phoenix on the right-hand side. Ares gets the last hit. He's on a rampage, heading towards the Titan room. Adopted Squad are going to take game 2 as well.
13-3 and 13. This Hades middle really doing a lot of work. General gonna fall to the pocket of Jake, and another Titan, another game, another day for Adopted Squad.
Wow, this Adopted Squad roster, man, looked so strong in this final set in our Southeast Asia region, and I wish I could say that it was just one player, but I mean, Ares looked great for them, Jake Pocket looked great for them, and the whole squad looked so strong.
Custard as well, piloting Arachne game number 1, Susanoo in game number 2, and I think that his performance definitely allowed Ares to play that aggressive Hades the way he really wanted to.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at that bracket one more time, Totally. I want to see the path that Adopted Squad took here to this dominant performance that they've had here all bracket long.
That's right, beating that boys with Tiaras in the semifinals.
Again,
time to feed.
How?
Yeah, I don't know. They must have had crowns, like I said. Adopted Squad sitting like kings at the end of week number 1.
That's right. I do want to remind everyone that we are going to be having the SPL shortly after this. It'll be kicking off at 1 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to support your favorite SPL team, we actually have a really good way to do that. Not just the team, but the players as well with these SPL badges. I myself got one of the Splice ones there, Totally. You got a badge you picked up?
Yeah, I got Rival and Dignitas.
That
trying to
right
collect those passive FP points, getting closer and closer to that Thanatos skin.
That's right. And so you get those. Not only do you earn FP when they win, but you get some right when you buy as well. So just a great way to not only support, but to support yourself a little bit at home too there, chat. But Totally, I believe that's going to do it here for us, man. I mean, Southeast Asia looked great here today. Strong victory came out for
Adopted Squad.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That's why you're here, Totally.
That's right. I'm here to bail you out anytime.
Thank you, Totally. But that's going to do it here for Southeast Asia. Make sure you stick around for the SPL.